friends, it's UrsulasRevenge, and welcome back to Star Stable. The other day I got this comment asking for a little guide on how I do my gardening, and I realized that I haven't actually talked about gardening since it came out almost a year ago, and I actually set up my garden a little differently now. So, I'm going to give you a quick tour of my garden. And I also just want to state at the beginning, there is no right or wrong way to set up your garden. It really is based off of your needs and what you want your garden to do. And the reason I have my garden set up the way that I do is because I planted specific flowers based off of what I would like to craft. So one of the benefits to the Path of Terra and the gardening in general is actually getting to craft things that are really helpful and useful. Path of Terra introduced a bunch of new quality of life items that are craftable. For example, we have travel dust, which means that you can fast travel to anywhere on the map that has a trailer from literally anywhere. You don't need to enter a trailer and then use it for free. But basically, it's just free fast travel from your inventory. Go Get My Stuff is similar, where instead of having to go find a storage or go back to your home stable, you have pretty much a little ball of light follow you around that you can open and access your storage for a couple of minutes. And Jar of Wisdom for those of you who have way too many horses to train and you don't really want to take the time to do it, you can use Jars of Wisdom to give them an instant experience boost. Personally, for me, the items that I use the most are the travel dust. Actually, that's the only one that I truly use, though I will say Happy Hoof Treats are really, really good. Obviously, there are other things you can craft. You can use light to craft different flowers, which honestly, it's kind of expensive and doesn't really give you a whole lot of flowers. I know it's like 9 flowers, but like a mix of them. I could just run around for 10 minutes and find those flowers instead of the time it takes for me to get 500 light, personally. You can also use it to craft garden powder, which is great if you're doing those runestone matchy puzzles because they do cost garden powder to use. Also, opening trap satchels costs garden powder. But anyway, the point of all this is to say that I plant my garden based off of what I want to craft, and most of what I'm crafting is travel dust. I use this stuff all the time. I have like 12 in my inventory at any given time. But in order to do that, you need 6 rubia, 6 bee balm, 2 lump of petal, and 2 druid sorrow. And those last 2 flowers you can't just find, you have to actually grow them yourself in your garden. And you do that by planting very specific flowers next to each other. For Druid Sorrow, you are going to plant either flax and chamomile next to each other or flax and bee balm next to each other. And for Lump of Petal, you are going to plant rubia and moss or bee balm and chamomile. When gardening first unlocked a year ago, I did do a video about it, and since then, more combinations have been found. Specifically, you can plant jute and flax together to get Lump of Petal and jute plus rubia to get Druid Sorrow. Personally, I have not had any luck with these combinations, but other people have, so I guess give it a shot. I have better luck with the rubia and moss combination for Lump of Petal, and both the other two for Druid Sorrow I kind of plant interchangeably. The reason why I don't use the bee balm and chamomile combination though for Lump of Petal, which was the tutorial combination, is simply because I was using chamomile to get Druid Sorrow, so I didn't really need to double plant it. Even though I'm technically double planting flax, it's a whole thing. But having an abundance of flax isn't so bad because you can just craft it into hay and then sell the hay or feed it to your horses. So anyway, let's talk about my garden layout. I kind of went for a more symmetrical aesthetic approach when it came to doing my garden. So in these 6 planters, which are the ones that you can fit the 6 flowers on, they're like ovals, I have alternating combinations of rubia and moss on diagonals and flax and bee balm in the others. So in the 4 corners of the little starburst shape, I guess, I have my Lump of Petal planters. And in the north and south planters, I have my Druid Sorrow planters. So basically, I've set my planters up to get me specific special flowers. So this is kind of how I visualize it in my mind, where I have specific planters giving me specific special flowers just because it makes me happy. But I'll talk about a different way that I found on Tumblr that somebody else likes to use. In this middle section, I did diagonals. So we have, again, moss and rubia in the 2 diagonal corners, and then chamomile and flax in the other 2 corners. Now, those are my Druid Sorrow ones, and then these are my Lump of Petal ones. The reason why I didn't do Bee Balm in these diagonal ones is because I kind of, they're short, tall, and then short, tall. It's symmetrical. I went for aesthetics this time. I just liked the way it looked. In the 3 planters off on either side, on the right side, I have, again, moss and rubia combinations all the way across, except for this very middle one, which has the only jute that I have planted in my entire garden. I'm not gonna lie, right before I hit recording, I double checked the combination of all the flowers, and I thought that this rubia jute was Lump of Petal, but it turns out it's Druid Sorrow, so that kind of messes up my little garden scheme, but it's fine. Maybe I get rid of the jute, who's to say? And on the other side, I have the other Druid Sorrow combinations, which are flax and bee balm in the middle and flax and chamomile on the outside. And again, it's all about symmetry. Now, the only part that's not symmetrical is the other side of the garden. I don't really talk about this side of the garden. But in this 2-sided tree planter thing, again, we have more Druid Sorrow combinations, 1 on each side, just because this side needed a little bit more pink, in my opinion, and the other side needed a little bit more white. But yeah, these back 2 planters are just flax and chamomile because I needed a little bit more chamomile to kind of balance things out. The numbers of my flowers are kind of arbitrary. I only realized when I was doing the graphics for this video that I do not have an even dispersal of flowers. I'm just getting a mix. So yeah, ultimately that's kind of how I set up my flowers. So looking at the breakdown, you'll notice that I have more Druid Sorrow planters than I do Lump of Petal planters, and that's for a very specific reason, and it goes back to that recipe that we were talking about. The Travel Dust recipe requires more Druid Sorrow than it requires Lump of Petal. So I've set up my garden specifically so that everything is symmetrical, everything looks aesthetic to me, but I will ultimately get more Druid Sorrow than I will Lump of Petal because that's what I need to craft with. So I ultimately end up getting the correct ratio of flowers that I need for the recipes that I need. But yeah, ultimately, that's my garden. That's why I set it up the way that I did, and I'm happy with it. I've had it set up this way for a while. The only thing, again, I'm not really totally happy with is this jute, but I didn't want to not plant jute because then I'm gonna have like the least jute out of everything, and then I'm gonna run out of jute and then be like, oh no, I need jute. What do I do? And I can plant more, but you know, I have 793 jute and I have at least another 999 in my storage. I'm not running out of jute anytime soon. I really don't need to keep it there. So like I said at the beginning of the video, there is no specific right or wrong way to do your garden setup. It really is based off of what you are trying to accomplish with your garden. Some people plant exclusively flax because it is the fastest thing to grow in the garden, and it's really a good way to just farm light so that you can farm money and Jorvik shillings and stuff like that. Just be warned, if you do that method, you have to slow down when you click on the flax because it might kick you for going too fast. It thinks like you're cheating. You don't get in trouble for it, obviously, because you're not cheating, but just be warned that you have to click a little slowly if you're gonna just plant flax for Jorvik shillings. And the reason why that's good is because you can craft the flax into hay, which you can then sell. It's time consuming, it's a little tedious, but it is a good way to get money. But another way that I saw on Tumblr is from Corinne Eaglebridge SSO. They have optimized their planters to do as many combinations as possible. So basically, when you plant flowers, the way that you get the special ones is based on what your flowers are touching. So I have mine set up so that diagonally and horizontally and vertically, they'll touch other combinations. So for example, the moss and rubia, moss will always touch rubia on multiple sides and vice versa. Same thing with all the other planters. But the way that they do it is they maximize the interaction so that you can actually get multiple flower combinations. So for example, on their 6 planters, they will plant chamomile, flax, bee balm, then bee balm, chamomile, flax on the other side. So that bee balm is always touching chamomile to get you Lump of Petal, Flax is touching both chamomile and bee balm to get you druid sorrow. And same thing, chamomile is always touching a flax or a bee balm to get you druid sorrow. I think I already said that one, but you get the point. It's just maximizing the interaction so that you get more special flowers. They do have alternate options that include jute. The only problem is one of the combinations for the 6 planters with jute doesn't interact with moss, so you're kind of at a loss for one of the flowers at least. But the only reason that the jute is there is to actually get you an even number of plants at all times. But if the amount of flowers doesn't matter to you, then you can just replace that jute with a different interaction. For visual reference, this is sort of the layout that I imagine they're using. So yeah, that was it. Short and sweet little video about a guide to my garden. Do you plant your garden similar to mine? Is yours completely different? I would love to know. So let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another video like this. I do try to cover every Wednesday update and more. This was fun. If there's any other videos that you'd like me to do, maybe something I haven't talked about yet, let me know that too in the comments. I'm, always happy to ramble on more about literally anything. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!